Hello, welcome along. It's just me and Carl today. No, we're not split up. We're just in different rooms for logistical reasons. Um, and Rod's not here because Rod's driven around the world. So maybe someone else one day will come and join us. Who knows? But I thought it was worthwhile while it's fresh in my mind to talk a bit about Easter Madness and what went on. And hopefully some people will watch this at a later date and go, "Well, Easter Madness sounds really cool." So, and Kylie can ask any questions that she has in mind along the way. So, Easter Madness. There was much madness. One wonders, do you need to be mad to go? But Easter Madness is a camp for high schoolers. It's a synod camp, although it's organised somewhat by Moreton Rivers Presbytery for logistical reasons, I'll say politely. So Moreton Rivers, but with a bunch of people from other places. And so while the majority probably were from Brisbane, Ipswich type area, I think we had some from Toowoomba. We had some, including Malia and her family, down from Burdekin. We had some from Mount Isa. I think they're the main big people that flew in. There might have been another one that I'm not aware of. But yes, so some people from elsewhere, but particularly Brisbane type people. For high schoolers, so year 7 to 12, and went from 2 o'clock on Friday, Friday, so Friday afternoon through till just after lunch on Monday. So much nicer than Kylie and I used to do Easter camp back in the Hunter, and that was Thursday evening. You'd drive up after school through to Monday lunchtime, so almost 24 hours less. Yay! That's not a bad thing. And this year was at Alex Park, which was nice cabins, and nice being a leader. There was a lovely cabin for 3 of us. We had to work out who got the double bed and which of us were on the bunks. And yes, our own little ensuite things. So you're not having to share showers with too many other people and things like that. Although the toilet was there was hardly any room from the door. I'm not sure how Fernando managed to get in and close the door, but that's all right. We managed on the end. I know Tim made a comment about it as well, so it wasn't just me having issues with the door. So yeah, probably maybe do a skim through of what we did. I might get the program. That might help me to remember what we did. And then I'll look like I know what I'm talking about. And then maybe some of my learnings from it. Gallery, open up. So we got there on Friday. We signed in. And, you know, sometimes you get asked, can you do this? And you think, that'll be easy. Sure, I can do that. So we're setting everything up for sign in, and Jess is like, oh, can you just go through the room allocations? And here's the signs and here's the list and make sure that they match up. And well, they didn't. A few things had changed around, and so we're going through and we found ones that were on the signs for the rooms but weren't on the list, and we couldn't see them anywhere, so we had them on. And then when we got through, we found them later on, and so then we had to go through again and cross people off here and move them there. Lots of fun.
Not
drove us crazy, but it was all right. So from signing in, eventually after they'd had their safety talk from the person who oversees the site camp, they're able to go and put their stuff in rooms. And then we had some community building and then into small group time. And it sort of changed around a bit because we were running late already. And so small group time, and we were able to get in our small groups for the first time. So each group had 2 leaders, and then somewhere probably between 5 and 8 kids. So my group had 5 year 8 boys, which was fun and interesting. And yes, Friday, several of them wanted to be in other groups. And it's like, no, you're in this group, come over here. No, come back over here. But that was all right. And I think Friday we all did it in the one big auditorium room, and so there was lots of noise, and it was not the most convivial of places to do that. But I think might have been raining then, so it was like, no, we need to be in here. But anyway, we're all in there. So all of that, was it during that? I think it was during that we had to come up with a group name. So we were green, so we became the Green Bombers. I had nothing to do with the name. That was others. My fellow leader was and I was sort of trying to talk them out of it. Let's come up with a happy name. But we ended up with the Green Bombers. That was all right. And then free time and dinner. Then a bit of free time. And young people have no patience. So they would sit there, eat their dinner, foof it all down, leave, and then a little while later dessert would come out. And so many of them missed out on dessert, and that's all right because they didn't eat. Then we had worship rally, and the main speaker was Far, who had been the Presbytery youth person in Moreton Rivers Presbytery, is now down in Sydney. At name of place starting with A that's now gone out of my head. But that's all right.
Cliff, Armadale.
No, in Sydney.
Arragunga. Oh,
no,
Sydney.
In Sydney. Just before you get to Strathfield. But anyway, no, it's not Auburn, which is just before Strathfield. Is it Auburn? Maybe it is. Anyway, doesn't matter. She's in Sydney now. I missed the first rally because we had to go and pick up Malia and her kids. So their flight had been delayed by 6 hours or something. So we needed to take 2 utes, and I took Fernando's 7-seater van, and we drove out to the airport, picked them up, stopped in at Macca's on the way back, and yes, that all went smoothly. Yay. By the time we got back, worship was over, and I think they were doing some night activity, glow-in-the-dark games. Apparently that happened. I didn't see it really happen, but there you go. Then some supper, and then kids went to bed, and then leaders had a bit of a debrief. So that was Friday. Yep. Saturday morning, we got up and had breakfast. I always wonder, breakfast was like at 7:30, and I always think, this is a youth camp. Why aren't we having breakfast at 10? But of course, on Saturday, you have the kids who are up at 6:30 or whatever. Not so much by the time you get to Monday, but Saturday they were up early. Then Zumba. Then worship rally, and Far looked a little bit at prayer. And one of those interesting things where you have an activity, and reminded me very much of our Southside Easter Sunday, where we had the cross and kids were given a post-it note to write something. I can't remember exactly whether it was something they wanted to give up or whatever, and then come and they would get a nail and they could hammer it into the cross. They started with one hammer, and then another hammer was found. And when you go there was about 100 kids, about 150 leaders, 150 people. You go, oh, if each person takes about 10 seconds to do that, you're looking at well over 15 minutes. So it went for a while, and then they went, hey, let's just, anyone who hasn't done it can come at another time. So I'm not sure that Far got to talk about as much about prayer as she would have liked, but that was all right. From there, we went into our small groups and explored prayer and the story of Elijah in the cave and hearing God's voice. And again, my boys were not particularly engaged. We talked about it a little bit, then we went and, okay, let's sign on for faith electives and other electives. Now, have something to eat. Now, come back. Let's recap. Let's tell you the story of Elijah. Did we get anything? No, fine, good. Then we had faith electives, so they were able to choose from various options. I think there was about 5 or 6 each day. So there was like a prayer walk through nature. There was one, there was taking photos and stuff. There was some sort of dancing. And both days I was looking at how to read the Bible. So the first one, a more simplified one of how to read the Bible, some of the question type stuff. So I used our questions we send out on Monday, Lectio Divina and things like that. And just how often do you read the Bible? Simple tips like that.
Mm.
Sunday we went further into, well, what genres are there in the Bible and what do we need to do? That sort of, I'll tell you about that tomorrow, later. Faith electives, lunchtime, then free time, and then we gathered together. Oh, no, must have been then we came up with our name. Then we had mini Olympics, which was fun, and my boys actually got involved, and we won
Well
a
done.
number of events. Yeah, they were working relatively as a team. One wandered off to join another group, and I went, I can't be bothered chasing them anymore. They can be part of that team. But yeah, so we had lots of fun and lots of engagement. So that was up until afternoon tea, and after afternoon tea, there were fun electives, so kids could pick.
Sorry.
I think there was like karaoke and just dance. There was sport, which was volleyball. There was yoga. There was a bunch of other things. So floated around a bit. There was one boy that was a bit worried down at volleyball, so I went down and see what that was all about and all that sort of fun stuff. And then towards the end of that, Saturday, yes, was wandering back through the campsite, and some of the boys came up, oh, will you come down so we can play football? Because it was moving into free time. It's like, well, I'm not sure you're allowed to. They're like, oh, we've talked to Lasani, who was the coordinator. He said, yes, as long as we could find 2 leaders. I said, well, if you can find another leader, we found one. It's like, cool. So we wandered down with them. And one of those moments where you go, this is why we do risk assessments, and this is why we have adults who, because you go, they could go just down and they'd be fine. So we sat and they were fine playing, blah, 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 blah. And then we got towards the end, and I think we're sort of, this is the last play, move up. And one of the boys collapsed and went into an epileptic fit, which was fine because we were there. So I'm instantly, let's go over. I'm on the phone to the first aiders and had to use a couple of numbers before I got onto one of them, and get them down. But the kids are like, oh, what do we do? Do we hold them? Do we stop them? And it's like, no, just leave them, give them space. So it's that sense of, if we'd not been there, the kids wouldn't have known what to do. So that helpful thing of, we were there, and me and the other adult who was, I think he's the minister maybe, from Mount Isa, we were just walking up the back and like, yep, that's why we go down. That's why you have risk assessments and all. It all worked. Tick. Wonderful.
Was he okay?
Yeah, he was okay. Apparently, it's a recurring thing, and I think he can no longer actually play in teams of rugby anymore because of the. It's probably because of the tiredness.
Yeah.
So yes, we weren't surprised, but yeah, he had the fit, then recovered relatively quickly, and first aid people came down and did all their things, and I went, cool, I know first aid, but I don't have to do anything, so this is wonderful. That was good. So from there into dinner, then again a bit of free time, and they all most of them missed out on dessert. And then night rally. And it was interesting. I think it was Saturday night, and we had a group from Kangaroo Point leading the worship. So a bit of an Islander type group, and it was very interesting. I think in half an hour we got through 2 songs, because you repeat the verse and then the chorus and then do the chorus again. Let's do the verse and then the chorus and then the bridge. Oh, let's do the back to, and that was fine. That's their thing. It's not my thing. But the kids were really engaged, and I think it was Saturday night where, we'd sort of done the worship, whatever, and they're like, one more song. And I said to Tim and Fernando in the room that night, I can't imagine the 70-year-old sitting there, one more song. It's more like, we've gone over, can you stop now? So yeah, the kids were obviously really engaged into the worship, but they wanted more. And even, you could be going and doing some fun games, but you're wanting more worship. Okay. Can't remember what the night activity was there. And then supper, getting them into bed. And then we had our debrief. That was Saturday. Sunday, what did we do? We got up and we had breakfast. We did some Zumba.
Did you?
And then,
Did you do Zumba?
I did Zumba. Yes.
Awesome.
Fernando was trying to get Joe up the front, but he wouldn't. Worship rally, we were looking at, rising above the noise and finding time alone with God. So that was good, and they had a chance to do a bit of a labyrinth type thing. I know I popped out at that stage. So that was good. And then into small groups. Can't remember what the Bible reading was for that one. No, it's gone. But anyway, we explored that with them, and again, a bit of engagement from my guys, not a whole heap, but that was all right. And it was that interesting thing of some of my reflections back will be around the small groups, in that they linked us together, and particularly they were saying we'll link people who are different personality types, which is a great idea, but we never actually had a chance to sit down as sort of pairs and go, okay, this is how we work. So I come from I'm happy with silence. I'm happy for one person to give me an answer, then I'll wait, and maybe I'll get a second answer. Whereas my colleague was more like, we've had that answer. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And it's like, okay, cool. So just different styles that would have been helpful to talk through and go, okay, we're going with that. That's fine. Neither way is right. But yes, so part of that struggle, and was chatting with Tim. He's like, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's really good. So yeah, then into faith electives. And yeah, some of the others had a whole heap. I think, I'm not sure, that I might have had one had signed up for me, maybe none. None had signed up for sort of talking about faith journeys. And then I think none had signed up for ecology. So we became the group that nobody was interested in, with a couple of extra people. And we did my stuff, which was exploring genres. And Jesse, who is the youth pastor at Emmanuel and was going to do the faith journeys, I got stuff out of that. So must have had something helpful in there. Then lunch, and then we did a trip down to the beach. A mammoth undertaking, getting all the kids there, getting them in groups, getting the groups to go down, making sure who was leaving site, who was staying on site, all those sorts of fun things. Down there, they had a bit of a swim. They had some were playing rugby and stuff on the thing, and one of our boys was pulled out by the surf lifesavers. So then it was everyone in their groups, make sure you're all here. Okay, we're going back up to camp. So,
wow. Was he all right?
Yeah, he was fine. He was all good. One of my boys. And then one of the other ones had gone over. So we got back, and Jess is like, no, you need to see first aid. We need to check, because, you could have secondary drowning, sort of thing. We're like, we find something there. So, and then sort of checking them a number of times during the night. How are you? Are you feeling? Are you doing this? That was fine.
So you didn't sleep much?
Oh no, just in the evening.
Oh right. Right.
Yeah. That's another issue. Yes, Mr. Oliver. So that, then got back, afternoon tea, fun electives, all that sort of fun. Free time dinner, free time night worship, and then the night activity was a dance battle. So in our colour groups, you had to come up with dances that you could then, one group would dance and the other group, and then they would follow. And started with my group and like, we'll just freestyle it. It's like, you sure? And then luckily we got the other green group came and joined us, and they were let's work some stuff out. So they eventually worked some things out, and they won their first battle but lost the second. So they got through to sort of the semi-finals or something. So they did well, but it was a journey. And then off to beds and stuff like that. That was Sunday. And Monday we got up and had breakfast. We cleaned up the camp, which I was saying to Lasani, like, they brought their bags up, we got all the keys, and they're all pretty much back. It's like, this is far easier than it should be. Something must be about to go wrong, given everything else has gone wrong this weekend, but nothing did. They did some Zumba. I was still collecting keys. And then we came into small groups, and for our small groups, we each got a piece of material for our colour. And the other green group had joined us for this one because one of their leaders had gone, and my colleague and their other person were tech people. So I think they were busy doing tech, although my colleague came down for a while. And so it was sit down and go around, write something positive about the person on your left, and then write something positive about the person on your right, and then share it with them. So go around the circle and go go around the circle again. And my group did it. And they were all positive and they were all nice.
Wow, that's good.
And one of those interesting things where I reflect on the reaction to me at the end of it, I naturally sit there and to be involved in this, all right. Whereas the other person who was leading sort of sat behind them and didn't engage in that.
So were they all from different places? Like, did most of them not know each other when they came, or?
So I think I had 2 or 3 from Logan and then from some other places. So yeah, they didn't necessarily know each other.
That's great.
That led to why some of them would want to go off to other groups.
Yeah.
So then we had morning tea. Then we moved into our final worship, had a song, and then moved into communion. And by that stage, one of the other boys from the other green group was in tears. I think 2 of my boys went into tears. So then Far did the liturgy. Then we got the elements and shared communion in our little small groups. So we'll sit in a circle, let's do this. And then we were encouraged to pray for each other. And it's like, do you want to pray? I'll leave it open. No one really prayed. So I prayed for them. And then some of our boys, let's stand up and let's get together. So I let them, they're like, no, Richard, you got to be in, you got to be in. So big group hug thing. And Tim's like, oh, I was trying to take photos of you and I was getting closer and I could hear crying. It's like, yeah, I broke them. But yeah, we got to that point where, okay, now we can share and be open. And so it's that challenge and that encouragement for working with young people. You've got to push through the hard things. They're going to battle. They're going to go, I'm not interested. If you keep pushing, you get there in the end. Even if it's
do you reckon they'll come back?
Yeah,
next year?
They'll all come back next year. And then we had lunch and they went. And I was sitting with one of the boys at lunch and one of his friends from my group, the one that had got pulled out of the surf. And yeah, he was saying, oh, best bit was this. Oh, no, the best bit was small groups with Richard. And I'm coming back next year and I hope I'm in your group next year. So it just shows that, the more you can be engaged with the group, the better those relationships you can build. So yeah, when you're leading a small group, just be involved. Like I wasn't involved in the dance battle. I just tried to choreograph them and rein in the cats. But yeah, mini Olympics and all that, just be involved. Just get in with the games they're doing, and that's the way you build those relationships. So that was that. I think that's all the big things. Any questions from the audience? No.
No, that was really good. But it doesn't surprise me that you linked well with them. Like you do talk on their level and you treat them like a human being. So it's really good. Is there going to be something mid-year, like, or they've just got to wait a whole year till they see each other again?
I think they've got to sort of wait for a whole year. There's talk of like Faye, who works part-time with Flagstaff, our community centre out in Flagstaff, in church thing, and part-time at Logan, was talking about doing some sort of worship at Logan. So
okay,
I'll try and see when that's on and if we can connect in with there and start bring some of our young people along. So this year, that sense that we don't have a whole heap in that age group. Hugh is year 7, but his parents were like, oh, maybe he's a year too young. Totally understand that. Our other youth groupers are year 6s, so there was some keenness from some of them to be involved next year. And I think I was talking to Rod, and it was that challenge of, do you promote it with the Boys Brigade boys who are just Boys Brigade boys? And it's like, well, they do enough camps that no.
Yeah.
Whereas the year 6s are Boys Brigade boys, but they're connecting with Unite. So yes, we'll promote them, but our brigaders don't need their parents to fork out more money.
No, they've got too many camps as it is. I mean, not too many, but
yes, there's a lot of camps and there's lots of money that's going out, and we don't want to overwhelm them. So it was that sense of, I went as let's go and experience this, let's go and start to be involved in this, and next year we'll hopefully be able to take a contingent up there and engage them in that. So that will be good.
That's exciting.
And it was good for me to reconnect with some people. Like I was saying to Tim, Alex Park, the first time I came here was 2003 for National Youth Workers in Service. I was only relatively new in the Uniting Church, and they were introduced this person who was going through college, youngish person called Tim Griggs.
Wow.
So It's like, that's how long we've known each other.
Mm.
That's where we started. So
and I think it was good not being on the Easter weekend because you didn't pull people away from families.
Yeah.
Which New South Wales did.
Yes. And Newcastle was always the Easter weekend.
Yeah.
So that interesting thing of, do you, don't you? Who knows? I like the idea of it on the Easter weekend because you can actually move through the story with the kids, but maybe not being on the weekend means that you don't have to do that story every year. So there's no sort of sense of the Easter story as a whole in Easter Madness. It was more, let's look at, and Trey was sort of going with let's look at training and how do we be, those people of faith in the world after we leave Easter Madness.
Cool.
If there's no other questions, that's half an hour.
No.
Someone else will watch this and get excited and go, let's promote Easter Madness more. And maybe you have a high school person that you're connected with that you're going to go, hey, why don't you go along to this next year? So we might see you next week. We'll work out whether there's a book I've been reading that I think has some interesting stuff. So we might look at that next week. Someone might join us, but have a good one. And I'll see you shortly, Cody.
Bye-bye.